If you've hired managers, built a team and done all the right things, but you still can't step away without standards and growth slipping, this video is for you. So there comes a point in almost every business where the owner stepping back becomes beneficial for everyone involved. It gives you, the owner, space to focus on the things that energize you rather than draining you. It allows your team to become autonomous and take real ownership, and it forces the business to become systemized, which makes it more scalable, more consistent, and more sellable. And the knock-on effect of that is a better, more consistent experience for your customers. So on paper, it makes complete sense. And yet, despite all of that, despite all of the obvious benefits, despite the amount of money that owners invest in building teams, despite the fact that owners are often shattered and actively want to do less, they still find it incredibly hard to step back. The data backs this up. Multiple UK surveys show that a majority of small business owners report high stress, low satisfaction, and symptoms associated with burnout. Multiple other studies show that over half of UK business owners experience mental health issues due to loneliness, financial stress, and long working hours. And less than 80% of UK businesses that get listed for sale ever sell, predominantly because they are dependent on the owner. So this isn't a fringe issue, it's the norm. Now, if this is hitting close to home, it might be worth you subscribing to this channel. It's all about building businesses that don't depend on you, the owner. So here's what happens when you don't escape owner dependency in your business. You lose passion for the business, so your energy drops and you stop driving the business forward in the way that you used to, and often stop looking after yourself as well. The business you actually created for freedom and fulfillment starts to feel like a cage. And that happens because at some point you stop being able to see a path to making the business not dependent on you. And you quietly tell yourself a story that this is just how it is now, that you're stuck in this thing for the long haul. And that story isn't true, but believing it slowly damages both you and the business. So I've spent the last 5 years helping small business owners step back from their businesses. And in that time, I've seen the same patterns repeat themselves over and over again. So owners don't get stuck because they're weak, lazy, or bad leaders. They get stuck because they hit a very common stage of growth. And this is the stage where you working heroically and carrying the business goes from being a strength in the business to a weakness. This is the stage where the very thing that got your business off the ground and to where it is today starts to work against the growth of your business. And these are the 3 barriers that keep you there. Once you recognize and address these barriers, it becomes possible to move on from having a business and team that own you to having a business and team that actually work for you. So the first barrier is the fear that everything's going to fall apart if you step back. Now, most owners have, often without realizing it, built a business that depends on them. And it's not a mistake, it's just part of the business journey. To get the business off the ground, you had to be deeply involved, you made the decisions, you hold the standards, you keep moving things forwards. But over time, that can turn the business into something that's held together by you. It becomes complicated, it becomes messy, and you're the only one who really understands how it all works and why. And that creates this very real fear that if I step back, this whole thing's going to fall apart. And that fear keeps you stuck far longer than you need to be. And the data shows that this is incredibly common. The majority of small businesses never properly scale beyond the owner or sell because owners are really bad at breaking this owner dependency. And what's interesting is that when owners actually think this through properly, the logic starts to fall apart. So if nothing changes, what does the business look like in 1 year and in 3 years? And in most cases, the risk of everything going wrong and the business failing is much higher if you stay exactly where you are. So you have to reframe your fear and recognize that staying as you are is actually much riskier than taking action. The second part of this fear is perfection. Many owners believe that nobody else can do things to their standards. And this is where the 80% rule matters. Your job isn't to turn people into you. Your job is to help people deliver at around 80% of your level consistently. And if you think about it, 5 people that can deliver to 80% of your standards are going to run a much healthier business than you alone at 100%. And here's another thing, your 100% isn't actually necessary. You'll quickly realize that 80% of what you think is good enough keeps clients happy and gets them great results. Look, mistakes will happen when you step back. That's unavoidable. The problem isn't the mistakes, it's repeating the same mistakes over and over again. So when errors are owned and discussed and then turned into systems, that stops them being threats and starts turning them into assets. The second barrier then is the absence of systems and processes that clearly define what good looks like. So no business owner enjoys complaining or micromanaging, yet many spend a huge amount of time doing exactly that. You step in, you quality check, you fix messes, and eventually you tell yourself it'll be easier just to do it all yourself. And in almost every case, the root cause of this is the same. Humans generally want to do good work, and when they don't, it's not usually because they don't care or they're not good enough. It's because they don't clearly know what good looks like. So if the expectations of what good looks like live in your head, your team are going to interpret them differently. This leads to mistakes, it leads to frustration, and it leads to you having to constantly intervene. And this is why businesses like McDonald's don't rely on exceptional people to deliver consistent results. They define what good looks like, and they build systems that make it easy to achieve. So when standards are clear and measurable, your role shifts. You stop being the finder and fixer of problems, and instead you become the coach when needed. I have a separate video on our MATCH model, MATCH model, that shows you how to clearly communicate what good looks like to your team every time, and I'll link that to this video at the end. The third barrier then is a lack of genuine employee engagement. Now, even the best systems won't work if your people aren't engaged enough to follow them, and pay alone does not drive engagement, it drives attendance. If your team isn't engaged, they're going to resist change, they're going to question new systems, and they're going to make progress feel far harder than it needs to be. Engaged teams, on the other hand, are going to actively help remove you and grow the business. They care about outcomes and they care about the success of your business, not just doing tasks and getting paid. In small businesses, two things consistently drive engagement. The first is proper personal development conversations where people feel that their goals matter, not just their output. And I've got a tool called the PDP, the Personal Development Plan, that shows you exactly how to structure and when to have PDP conversations in your business. If you comment PDP on this video, I'll send you the link to that free training. The second is involving your team in planning, which gives them a voice in what the business is trying to achieve and how it's going to get there. And this unlocks what is called employee voice. Your employees want to feel heard, and they want to feel appreciated, and they want to make a difference. They also have insights into your business that you don't have. So involving them in planning is a win-win. Without engagement, systems feel like control and your team will resist them. But with engagement, systems feel like support and your team will drive them. Most owners don't make time to engage their teams, so their teams resist change, which leads to the owner believing that they have to just do everything themselves. It's a vicious circle. If you overcome these three barriers, stepping back stops feeling risky and starts feeling inevitable. It's important to be realistic about the timelines though, so fully removing yourself from day-to-day operations usually takes between 12 and 24 months, but meaningful relief happens far sooner. With the right structure in place, most owners can reclaim around 2 days a week within 90 days. When you start making progress towards a team and business that doesn't depend on you, how you feel about the business and your life changes for the better entirely. Your business and your team can work for you, but only once the business stops depending on you to hold everything together. If you'd like more systems and support that help you create a non-owner dependent business, be sure to subscribe to the channel.